Well, welcome to the Feng Shui Society webinar just after the Chinese New Year, and tonight we're talking about the Year of the Rabbit with our special guest. My name is Gina Lazenby. I'm the chair of the Feng Shui Society, and tonight we have Nicholas Haines from the Five Institute. Welcome, Nick.
Thank you, Gina. Thank you very much, everyone, for the Feng Shui Society for hosting.
You're welcome. We love you were with us last year, and I know this is a busy time of year for you because as passionate about, expert, whatever the word is, you're steeped in Chinese philosophy, many decades, particularly with health and acupuncture. And you've created something called the vitality test, which we referred to when we were talking to people. And you're going to talk to us about the vitality test. You're an international speaker, author, strategist, and teacher in Chinese energetics. And I feel tonight for our Feng Shui presentation, quite a few people might well know something about that in their practice, but not everybody here is a practitioner. Nick's also a co-founder of the No More Boxes movement. And now through the Five Institute, Nicholas is engaged in a diverse range of companies, individuals, organizations, leadership teams, large corporations, and the NHS and many education institutes. And the issues that Nick is particularly skilled at working with is relationships, culture, communication, diversity, empowerment, and kindness. And that's something you are very well known for, Nick. Kindness ambassador, bringing that to all your work, which is wonderful. I'm sure that will be here in tonight's presentation. Sharing the five energies in everyday life, and I mean this is based on as 40 years of experience working with over 50,000 people on a one-on-one basis, which is a huge body of knowledge. So welcome tonight. We are delighted to understand more and get insights from you about how this year of the water rabbit is going to affect us, and in many cases our clients as well. So over to you, Nick.
Oh, thank you very much, Gina, and thank you for that introduction. It's always a joy when I hear you talking about me in that way. And actually, it's 42 years this year. So there you go. Can you believe it? So what I'm going to do is I've got a presentation, and I've got prepared some slides, especially for the Feng Shui Society. This is my third presentation today, and I've done I think about 14 or 15 in the last 10 days, and every single one I try and make slightly different to fit actually what's going on. So I'm going to be I've got some slides for you on this link. Put in the chat area, and we'll put it at the end of the call. Basically that's a copy of all the slides I'll be using. So I think the best thing to do is just kind of watch the slides, listen, try and absorb what's kind of going on. Don't try and write everything down, because you've got all the slides, everything will be there for you. So just trying to listen, absorb, and try and get the bigger picture of what we're trying to explore. I've done with this presentation, it doesn't matter if you don't know anything about the Chinese astrology or the 5 elements. If you do, I hope it'll be extra interesting for you. And yeah, I hope you really enjoy it. I'm going to go through this content. We're going to pause, do some breakout rooms. At the end of it, we'll have questions, etc. So make it lovely and interactive. So let me just share my screen. Oh, Gina or Victoria, could you allow me to share my screen?
Beg your pardon, Nick. I cannot make you a co-host. It's remiss of me.
Let's see. I can make you. Yeah, you should be able to now, Nick.
So I now have power. This is fantastic. Here we go. Yeah, I've got power. Here we go. So there we go. That would be just get those slides. I'm going to hide this panel here so I can see everything. There. Down to there. And then we all go. Yeah, so welcome to this Water Rabbit presentation. I'm referring to this as a year to reunite, be brave, and make magic happen. And as we go through the content, I think you'll see why I've called it this particular year. So as I said, everything is on these particular slides. All you need to do is go there, PDF. Every single slide I'm using is there for you. So this content is taken from a big masterclass I ran on the 22nd that was kind of over 3 hours long, and I've taken bits of that content out and put that for you. There's a recording of that main masterclass, so just go to our events section, it's there for you. So what we're going to cover, I've broken this down into 4 parts to make this nice and simple. The first one is we're going to set the scene. We're going to look at the kind of Chinese zodiac, bring everyone up to speed. Then we're going to look and say, okay, what's the energy of now? What's actually going on now? Then I'm going to give you 3 kind of guiding principles for 2023. If you're a Feng Shui practitioner, I've got some content that I think actually working with people, directing them in certain ways would be really useful. If you're not a Feng Shui practitioner, then these guiding principles still apply to you. And I'll give you some good hints there. And then in part 4, I'm really excited about, we're going to be looking at rabbit traps and paddling backwards. And I'll explain what I mean by that when we come to that particular section, but I think you'll like it all. Well, I hope you will anyway. So here we go. So let's look at setting the scene. So we're going to just look at the Chinese zodiac, bring everyone up to speed with that. So basically each year is related to one of these 12 animals, and that gives the year a certain set of kind of characteristics, has certain behaviors, certain qualities to their year. The year is also related to one of the 5 elements, or one of the 5 energies. So basically, one of these years occurs once every 60 years. So the last time we were in a water rabbit year was in 1963. And I want you to remember that, because although this isn't the same as 1963, because some of the world context is different, some of the things that we're going to see or have seen or going on are kind of exactly the same. There's a purpose to it. So there's a resonance. So because these years occur once every 60 years, we only really most of us only really get one big go at a water rabbit year or a water tiger year in our full power. So each year has a theme, a flow, an undercurrent, a kind of vibration to the particular year. And each block of 12 years also has a theme, a flow, an undercurrent, a vibration to it. And we're currently in a block of time that's kind of dominated by the metal element. We started with 2 metal energy years, the 2020 and 2021. And what that does is it gives us an opening theme or a set of questions in which we explore during this 12-year block. And it kind of ends with 2 metal energy years, which is kind of almost like, okay, how did you get on? What actually happened in this time? So does that mean every single year will be the same as 2020 and 2021? No, because that energy is fading away, but there is an essence all running through this 12 years that has questions around that element. Now, all of that resonates and it vibrates, harmonizes with you as an individual. And it interacts with your stars, east and west, the numerology, your essence. It interacts with your parental energy, the influence of your culture, your history. And the ancient Chinese believed that when we came to Earth, we made a promise to do something or be something or explore something. And some of that, again, is that essence of who you are as a person. And these years and the blocks of time are interacting with that essence of who you are. So you might think, oh, well, that's really confusing. So how do I make sense of this year? I'm a Leo, I'm a number 7 numerology, I'm a earth pig, I'm a this, I've got my parental back. How on earth do I make sense of it? And I think the easiest way to make sense, rather than focusing on I'm a Leo or I'm a whatever, I think the easiest way to make sense of it is to look at it via your vitality test profile. And your vitality test profile is a measurement of 5 elements that we do via an online assessment. And because your vitality test profile in a way is an amalgam, a collection of all your east and your west stars, your numerology, the essence of who you are, your parental influence is all shown within that relationship between those 5 elements. And also what it is that you promise to do or explore is also there, and some lessons to kind of move around. And where we tend to have our dominant energies, these stronger energies, that tends to be our focus or our way of seeing the world. And where we have less energies, or the weaker, or these dense coming in here, that tends to be where we have our blind spots or our lack of focus. So it's quite useful to kind of recognize that in a particular year where there are these qualities going on from the animal and the element, I might have blind spots in certain areas, and I might have a certain focus in certain areas. It's really important to say that no year is good or bad for any of us. It's like Gina will appreciate this, like they say in Yorkshire, there's no good or bad weather. There's just kind of the wrong clothing. You're just kind of mismatching what it is you do. Every year is absolutely fine. However, some years are more important than others. They're more significant. And we're actually in a very significant, important year. But it's no better or worse for us. There are just certain things that we should ideally do. If you've not taken the vitality test, it's completely free. Just go to Five Institute and it's there for you. If you try to take it and we've had some problems with the password, we will get back to you and support you on that. So let's just pull this together for you. So this year is made up of the influence of the water element, water energy. It's got the rabbit there. It's got this metal energy block of time. It's got you represented by your vitality test profile. So let's look at the energy of now and just look at one of them. And what we're going to start up by looking at is, okay, what's the influence of water energy, the water element? What's going on with that? So I've just brought this down to kind of the essence of what water energy is really about. So the first one is every energy is related to a season, and water energy is related to winter. And in winter, you fundamentally, the ancient Chinese would recognize, very agricultural society would recognize that in winter, if you hadn't planted your crops, you hadn't looked after them, you hadn't harvested them, then you were starving in winter. There were consequences to it. Whereas if you looked after them and you planted them well and you harvested them well, then winter was a great time. There were consequences to that. So the first thing to say is that consequences can be good or bad, but this is a year around consequences. So if you eat well and you look after yourself and you manage your energy or manage your finances or manage, then it's pretty good consequences. And if you don't, then there are other consequences. So we've just come out of a water energy year, a water tiger year. It's yang water outside in the world. So we have been seeing lots of things around consequences of what we've done to the planet, consequences of how we are financially. You'll often find that strong water energy years will often be related to downturns in the economy. So there's consequences of, can we survive? Are we surviving? So we're having lots of experiences around consequences, both good and bad. Water energy is also about sustainability, this balance between yin and yang, trying to keep things. So we're also seeing issues around sustainability. Last year, water tiger year, external yang, we were seeing more issues around sustainability, around externally the planet coming to the fore. Remember 1963, they were exploring similar things. And this year, we're going to have more issues around our own personal sustainability, looking more inwards, but there will still be external sustainability. So this year has got stuff going on around consequences and sustainability, both good and bad. The second thing to say about kind of water energy is it's got something going on around authority, trust, power, and flow. And I always think it's really interesting when you look at news agencies. They'll often, particularly with women, they'll often choose women with every element gives us a certain facial structure, and typical water element, water energy, it gives this very kind of square jaw. So you'll often find news anchors, particularly women, will be chosen with a lot of water energy. Not everyone, but you'll see a predominance of it. And that's because if people have this elemental side to them, we naturally trust them more. And if you're running a news agency, you want people to trust the news that you are telling them. It has an authority, a kind of trust to it. Water also has this this power to it, and it could be like the kind of the raw power of water to push through and get through things. And out of the 5 elements, the 5 energies is the most powerful of the energies. It's powerful in its raw power, but it's also powerful in its ability to go around things, through things, over things, to flow, to trickle, to move. It has an unstoppable power, either by its brute force or by its ability to go around things. It also has a power in its ability to get us to reflect. And so you'll find in these water energy years, we're being asked to reflect on things, to look back at things and say, okay, well, what's going on here? So that it has a power to reflect to us, and a raw power and ability to get round and through things, etc. The third thing with the essence of water energy, for us, it has something going on around purpose and leaving a mark. And if you think about it, water is the only element that actually leaves its mark on the earth. If you think about the Grand Canyons or the glaciers carving out the valleys, every other element is really very transitory. Fire comes and go, wood comes and go, metal comes and go. But water, through consistent action, something is left behind way longer and travels through time. So these years will leave something, their mark on the earth, for longer than other elemental years. So that's the kind of essence of water energy, this consequences, sustainability, authority, trust, power, purpose, and leaving a mark. Now, it's important to say at this particular stage that this idea of us individuals, this is my purpose, this is me leaving a mark, this is what I'm here to do. That purpose, that expression, that essence of why you've come to Earth could be because you're exploring what it is to love yourself, or exploring what it is to get the difference between sacrifice and giving. Can you work out the difference? Or exploring boundaries. So purpose does not have to be the Grand Canyon, it can be something else. So we're going to kind of go into breakout rooms now. And what we're going to basically look at in this breakout rooms, and we're going to have kind of about 4 people in the breakout rooms, and we're going to spend about 8 minutes. And what I want you to do is, we've just been in a water energy year. We've been in a water tiger year. And we will have seen personally, might be personal for you, or it might be you've seen outside in the world, you've seen something going on around consequences and sustainability. There was perhaps something going on around authority or trust. Did we lose trust? Did we give our authority? Did we give our power to other people, or did we reclaim our power? Was there a drive within you, or a sense that there must be something more to life? We must be doing some purpose or leaving a mark, or are we seeing that society is leaving a stain on the planet, which is a form of a mark? So what did you see last year that was reflected to you from the water energy around consequence, sustainability, any of those things? What did you see? And the reason I'm asking you to look at that is because those things are given to us in order for us to grow, to change, to challenge, so did someone take your power? The drama, did that take your power? Did that take your authority? And what would you do now if you were going to revisit this? Because we're having another go at water energy. So what I want you to do is go into breakout rooms, take about 8 minutes, and just discuss what did we see in this area, and what might we do about it. Now, when we go into the breakout rooms, I have just a really kind of simple approach to the breakout rooms. When you arrive there, just look really pleased to see people, nice smile, but don't be too happy, otherwise people might think you're a little bit crazy. So what you want to do, is we want to have a look at this stuff. Okay, so I'm going to stop sharing my screen now. Okay. Wonderful. So I'm curious. Does someone want to raise a hand and say what they noticed or what they discussed in the group? We'll just take a few examples. Connie, I saw your hand go straight up. Bang. You've also got a little
I know,
well.
but I think that was easier because there are not too many of us in the group, so you can see me easily. That's why I decided just to do that, right? Okay.
All right.
So, I was in a group with a lady from Essex, and I'm from Vienna, Austria, and it was interesting to compare how we perceive the situation in our different countries. Of course, there were similarities and there were also differences, and also how we perceive that personally, right? So I said, I have the feeling politicians and authorities, they were trying to take our power away, and they tried all sorts of things, but I didn't let them. I tried to stay self-confident, and I mean, of course, I'm in a lucky situation. I'm self-employed and I'm also retired, so I could actually do what I want. So I continued working, and I didn't give a damn actually about the general situation. I didn't let them buy into the fear that. That's what I learned, actually. That's more, I got more angry than fearful. I got angry. I think they're all assholes what they were doing to us, but they were trying to do it, and I wouldn't let them, take my power away. And and Brenda, she talked about the situation in the UK in general, because I said, the consequences, as you mentioned, is of course that the working situation for many people had changed. And I talked about my kids, and now they are working a lot more from home, and they don't have to fly on business trips anymore so much. And now it all works it works just as, totally differently than it did before. I think similar situation was in 2008, when the financial crisis was. And, I remember my husband, he used to fly a lot. And suddenly he did not have to fly so much anymore because the company didn't want to spend so much money. So the circumstances sometimes force you, and you come across the idea that life can be different, and it still works, doesn't it?
Yeah, great. Oh, thank you for that, Connie. That's a great observation. One of the things that one has seen, every energy, depending on our energy, our response to various things can be different. We could get angry, or we could get fearful, or we could get excited, or we could get different energies will invoke different responses. And sometimes that can be helpful, and sometimes it can't. And I think the important thing is recognizing our individual experience of it. So thank you for sharing that. It's really, really important. Great content. Great.
We'll take another one.
Yeah, absolutely.
Somebody want to put their hand up? Mechanically, or an actual hand.
Yeah, let's go.
Oh,
Amanda.
There's a hand. Yeah.
You see Amanda's hand.
Yeah.
I just need to unmute.
Yes.
There we go.
Yeah, I remembered, I was reminded when we got the email about today, that you'd explained last year that the year of the water tiger was a year of courage. And that now we're moving into the year of hope. And I think that feels really right for me. I personally had to find my courage, because a bit like the previous lady said, I think it's important that we take control over our lives and not necessarily have it be controlled from, top-down control sort of thing. And on the other hand, it's really important not to get dragged down into negativity about how awful it is, because that's counterproductive. So to have the year of hope gives me hope. And I think there's a lot that I personally have felt more of a sense of my own authority, which I didn't expect. So I think that kind of sums it up, I guess.
Yeah, I love that, Amanda. I love that. And I think it's interesting, isn't it, that it's perfectly all right, and I'm really clear on this, it's perfectly all right to have had an experience last year that really told you, I didn't enjoy that. I did not have a good experience there. I do not want that again. And I refer to this as being like the tired revolution. And we can have that within society. We look at, in the UK, if you look at kind of many areas in the health service or in the thing, there is a tired revolution of people saying, actually, I'm exhausted, I'm tired, this system cannot continue, it's not sustainable, it cannot work, and there's a tiredness to it. So some people felt uplifted and invigorated, and some people became so exhausted that they said, look, enough is enough, we can't do this anymore, this is wrong. And we saw, my wife is a nurse, and I basically recognized that she was being abused, her good nature and her kindness was being abused by a system. And then they suddenly have enough is enough, tired revolution. So there are many, many forms. So last year might have just shown you what to do this year, or it might have given you a chance to practice, or it might have, and everything is fine. It's just part of the process. So I love that, Amanda, and Connie as well. Let's take one more. I'm really curious as to what else we've seen. So
Everybody got a hand
observe.
up?
Yeah, anyone?
And
Anything is okay?
oh, no more sharing. Okay, no more sharing. Oh yeah, Adele's going to share. Lovely.
Go for it. Thank you.
Hi, yeah, I was in a lovely group with Elizabeth and Monica. We were kind of talking about ways where we felt our power. Some people felt their power was being taken away, and some people were kind of feeling they really had to take the reins. And I was saying, yeah, I had to kind of really step up and step into my power around technology. And my website got hacked, so my website and my email. So I kind of had to step in and figure all of that out instead of saying, oh, somebody else does that job for me. I had to take the reins back and say, well, I need to be responsible for this, and I need to take absolute control and figure out what I wanted to be and what I wanted to look like. And it was a 1 week learning curve that had to turn around really, really fast. So I'd rather not learn that quickly in future. Thanks very much, universe. But it was a good way to teach you to just be in control and actually be responsible for it yourself. Yeah.
I think that's a fantastic example. And then that has consequences for the future. You think, actually, I now know how to do that. So I'm never going to be in a situation where I don't have to do it. And that has consequences. I love that. And it's also recognizing you can have some areas of your life, you took back power and control there and ability to do things. In other areas of your life, you might not have. So it's like all a big mixture. But I think that's a brilliant example. Thank you, Adele. Thank you. Well, let's, shall I go back to, I'll go back to sharing my screen. We'll go through some more slides and then we'll look at this a little bit more. So let's see how this is all going to work. Let's, here we go. Here we go. To the top, down to the bottom. Get rid of all of this. And there we go. Let's hop on to the rabbit now. Let's have a little look at this this little chap here and see what that will bring for us. And then we'll start pulling it together for you. So the essence of the rabbit, again, I think there are three main things that we need to think about. The first one is their nature is they're very sensitive, they're intuitive, alert, and adaptive. And they're considered to be very lucky years. And I don't think any year is lucky or unlucky, but yet the rabbit predisposes us to be lucky. And that is because it gives us a sensitivity and intuitiveness and alertness and adaptability. And if you look at all the research around what makes people lucky, it's the ability to be alert, to observe things, to be intuitive, to be sensitive, to pick things up. And that then creates luck. So we have this sensitivity. Now, this is the first year for a long time that we have some stuff going around sensitivity, intuitiveness, alertness. So it will make us more sensitive to other people and their needs and what's going on. The other years, last 3 years, have been pretty kind of brutal in terms of our sensitivity towards other people. And that then fits with the second quality essence of the rabbit, is that they're very peaceful, patient, gentle, and they're community driven. And we have not had a community driven year for 4+ years. nearly 5 years, proper community-driven years. We just haven't had one. So this is our first chance. We've had years that have been exploring what it is to be alone, what it is to be isolated, what it is to be divided, what it is to be black and white thinking and polarized. But we haven't had a year that is community driven for a long, long time. And that you'll notice a kind of real kind of sea change. And this peaceful, patient, gentler energy, the first time we've had for a long, long time. And then the third essence around rabbits, and we'll see this, is that they have an ability to change direction and be really fast when required. So there's a duality to rabbits. They can be peaceful and gentle and still and plodding and sensitive, but they can also just change direction and go really fast when required. And it is this changing of direction that's the quality. And rabbits also have within their nature, and we have within this year, it's more kind of joyful. And again, this is a first joyful year we've had for a long time. The first year where we can naturally be bouncy and happy and joyful and stuff. So it's got some really kind of really nice qualities within this particular year. So if you pull together the water energy aspect of the year, the consequences, sustainability, and then you put, and all that stuff, and then you put that together with all the sensitivity, peacefulness, change direction and stuff, what that does is it gives you a sense of complete and utter confusion of, well, most people, well, okay, I've got all these different things. How on earth do I pull that together and make sense of those different components? And I'm going to do that for you in a number of different ways. I'm going to give you a kind of a big overview of it, and then I'm going to give you 3 kind of guidelines. The big kind of overview of this year, this year has a duality to it, a this and that. And it also has issues around sustainability. So if you look at the duality side, water has a duality to it. It has this power, this movement, this force, and it has this complete and utter stillness and quiet reflection. They're 2 completely different states that can exist. Rabbits have above ground and below ground. They're gentle and peaceful and calm, and yet they can change direction and move. They're sensitive and yet intuitive, and yet they're peaceful and gentle. There's above and below 2 different qualities that are trying to exist at the same time. And I also said that we've got this constant essence of metal element running through. The metal energy as a metal element has it loves simplicity, and it has a duality of it, of very kind of black and white thinking, which is why we saw in 2020 metal energy year, 2021 metal energy year, big metal energy block of time, we saw this real duality appearing of, are you a Democrat or are you a Republican? Are you pro-vaccine? Are you against vaccine? Are you this? Are you that? Are you this side? Or are you that? Are you woke or you're not woke? And this division of this black and white thinking from that metal energy and criticism. So we have we're exploring a kind of a duality. And what this year, ultimately, one of the big things we're exploring is managing, embracing, enjoying, and reuniting that duality of the 2 things maybe 2 things can exist at the same time. Maybe you can be happy and unhappy. Maybe you can this, maybe that, maybe someone. So it's moving us away from this idea of people polarized and being put into boxes of you're this or you're that. And it's also got some essence around exploring sustainability for us individually and for the planet. But it is a chance to manage, embrace, enjoy reuniting a duality. Now, if you think about back in the 1960s, which was the last time we're in this phase, they were trying to manage and embrace. If you think there was a duality, if you just look at civil rights in America and different parts of the world, you kind of couldn't go to the same colleges, couldn't use the same toilets, couldn't use the same thing. There was a thing. And what was this period about? It was saying, can we exist with this duality, bring people together and reunite? The Civil Rights Act thing. It was also exploring sustainability. But the essence of what we're trying to do at this time is managing, embracing, enjoying, and reuniting the duality within society, but also within us, of being active and resting, or being this and that, of reuniting us, reuniting our present with our past, reuniting our relationships, and exploring that within a context of sustainability. So that's the kind of the, in a way, I want you to think of the kind of headline. And now I'm going to give you some kind of 3 guiding principles that fit, and then we're going to look at some paddling backwards and rabbit traps. So let's look at I think this is the essence of what the guiding principles for this year. The first one is go forth, have fun, multiply, but do that sustainably. So it is the first year where we get a chance to go outwards. Every other year, the last 3 years have been inward moving direction years of, like I say, isolation, cutting off, shutting down. This is the first year to go forth. It's also the first year that gets to have fun. We get a chance to have fun. And remembering that each energy has a different style of fun. A fire energy could be you're out partying and communicating and chatting with people. And someone else's idea of fun could be doing a crossword, or working out a puzzle, or working out how to describe something, or alone time of deep meditation and reflection. That could be real fun. So it's what is fun for you as an individual, but it is going forth, having fun and multiplying. And at the same time, can you do that sustainably? That's the dance. That's what you're trying to do. The second, and the multiplying could be, going forth multiplying could be that you've been working on something for ages and ages, and this is a chance to put it out there into the world, to explore how to do that. So there's lots of different ways, but the central thing is the sustainability nature of it that we'll be exploring. The second thing, a guideline, is to be brave, stay above ground, and stay connected. And the sensitivity that we can have, the intuitiveness, the sensitivity, plus the experience that we've lived through recently, might make us a little bit tender and not feeling like we want to be up and out there in the world, or a big noise happens and we get scared and we just disappear back underground again. And if you think about the way that rabbits do this, and they're successful as sensitive creatures, they're successful because they are in numbers, they're in communities, and they're out in the open. And because they're in a community, everyone is looking out for everybody else. And it's all watching out, and one person reacts, and then everyone then has that information. So the whole community side of being together and working on things together is the thing to do this year. But it is important for you to be brave, stay above ground, and stay connected. And I will reiterate why that is so important in a little bit. And the third guideline is to reunite your actions and your heart with your soul's calling, to really say, actually, I'm going to do what matters to me. And we've had, in 2020 and 2021, one of the purposes of that time was for you to work out what you want in the world and what you don't want. And that might have been because you were given lots of things you don't want, or it could have been you were given lots of things you do want, but you were shown and given an example, what do you value, what matters to you and what isn't. And now is the time to take that information and put it into your actions. And it's really with what your soul's calling. I think, actually, this is what matters to me deeply. And we will have been given experiences. And when you look at the water energy spiritual side, and you look at the Chinese characters for that, and you've been on this presentation before, you'll know I really like this because it really shows up well. This is a spiritual side of the water element, and it has this side of Ming Men, which is translated as purpose, and Zhi, which is translated as willpower, but there's an essence to them. And what this character here on the left-hand side means, this is heaven and earth, and then a dash. And then this block is like an official stamp, and then there's a banner, and then these are 2 doors. So what that means is, when I came from heaven to earth, I said I would do something. There was an official stamp, and there was a banner in which I would follow, and the doors are then me entering into the world. So when you came to earth, you said you would do something, You had an official stamp, a contract, and a banner to follow. And that doing something could be learning to love yourself. One of my big explorations is, can I work out the difference between giving and sacrifice? And what is the difference between that? And like I said, I did 50,000 one-on-one consultations, and there was stuff around sacrifice and not giving. And can I get that right? And this is an exploration of that. Then the second character is willpower. And what that is basically broken down into two parts. The top part is like a shoot being pushed up through the earth. So it's something being pushed up through the earth. And the bit at the bottom is a radical, meaning heart. So what is it in your heart that you're going to push out into the world? So it's not about that brutal willpower, come on, I can do this. It's just, what's in your heart that you want to have out there in the world? And it might be more love, it might be more compassion. We've got this thing around kindness, or it could be forgiveness, or it could be anything. It could be, actually, I want feng shui to be out there in the world. I want people to be empowered. I want people to be happy. What is it that you want to push out into the world that makes your heart sing? And that's the essence of what we're exploring this year with all that intuitive sensitivity with the rabbit. So those are the kind of three characteristics, the guidelines that we've got. Now, what I want to do now is I want to look at part 4, rabbit traps and paddling backwards. And this, I think, will be really kind of useful content in the context of those guiding principles. So the first rabbit trap and paddling backwards, and I talked about that in a video I made about 18 months ago, 2 years ago, where in the video I was talking about that I had felt deeply kind of broken by the experiences I'd had, by the people I'd lost, by the isolation with what was happening to my wife and the work and the death, and I had felt deeply broken by those experiences. But the video was exploring, was I actually broken, or was I being rearranged in some way in order to allow me to do things later? So the one thing I think it's important to recognize is the kind of paddling backwards and the rabbit trap is that many of us went through experiences in the last 3 years that have left some imprints or left us requiring some healing, or there is a sensitivity to us now that we perhaps need to look at or have support around. And other people are absolutely fine with it, and other people are really not. And this next thing, I was told very, very clearly by people I respect, Nick, just don't go here, do not do this. And I ignored them. And what that is I think we need to have, some of us need to have what I'm calling a big conversation about a big conversation, really kind of like a gentle exploration of how the pandemic, how the lockdown left us, and what's yet to be resolved and what's yet to be created, and looking at our individual experience of that, not to relive it, but to review it and say, okay, how has that left us and what needs to be resolved? And this is a project that I'm doing as part of the Five Institute, but we're doing with lots of other people. You go to our events page, it's completely free. We'll be starting in the beginning of March. And the idea is to do this gentle exploration. And what we're talking about dealing with is we look at this stuff, and then we have we call them the re's. So what are you going to do with that experience? Are you going to reclaim who you were? Are you going to reinvent yourself? Are you going to repurpose that experience? Are you going to rejoice that you got through? Are you going to release it? What are you going to do with that stuff? Because if that stuff is there, it is stuff that does need to be resolved. And it's very much like they had in the 1960s, they had to deal with the grief and the trauma from 2 world wars. And in order to do that, they had to release some of that to move forward, to then have a different set of thinking. And we haven't, thank goodness, most of us have not been through world wars. However, we have been left with an experience that makes us look what we value, what we don't value, what matters. And so it changed society in some way. So if that's something that you think, actually, I could do with that, or I know people that could do with that, then just join in this kind of big conversation. Not for everyone, but I think it's a really useful thing to be doing, because we do need to resolve this, because this phase that we're moving into is we need to be heroic. We need to be making decisions, and heroic in a sustainable way. You know, I was saying this is like we're exactly the same energetically as 1963. And 1963 was saying, I have a dream. Martin Luther King in 1963 gave that I have a dream speech. It was about something different for the world to be. And that requires us to be heroic, us to be strong. And that may require us to release and deal with stuff that has traumatized or upset us or divided us in some way. So that is a really important thing. We're also looking at, starting February, we've got something called energetic superpowers and heroic actions. And it's saying, okay, what are my energetic superpowers? What am I really good at doing? What would a heroic action be for me? So an example I use, a heroic action for me was I had the ability, I did a lot of end-of-life care, to sit with people when they had just been told that they were about to die or were dying, and be able to sit there and be in that space. And I'm good at that, and it was heroic at times, but there are challenges within the superpowers that we have. So your superpower could just be to listen, or your heroic action could be to reach out to a family member that you're no longer connection with, and face the possibility that you're going to reach out and then be rejected. So but we need to all be doing this stuff. So there are 2 bits of content there to help you with that. Another rabbit trap and paddling backwards, and I think this is, again, is a really interesting one, is that, you know, we talk about this time as a metal energy block of time. We've just been through metal energy. So metal is related to this block of time, 2020, 2021. So metal energy is related to autumn, to fall. And in autumn and fall, things disconnect, they end. There is a big question all the time of what's missing, what isn't there. And there is a desire for simplicity, that black and white thinking. So let's keep things really simple. It's about less is more. It's about getting rid of things. It's about having that Zen simplistic space, the elegance of less is what this energy is about. And in 2020, I gave these guidelines for the year. I said, look, you need to clear, clean, and store away. We need to create space. You need to be getting rid of stuff. And I was talking about this in 2019, about, look, stuff's going to happen. You need to have your space clear. You need to value and protect your resources and harvest and so. So what happens if you didn't do those things in the metal energy, that metal rat year? Well, value and protecting our resources, we're doing that this year anyway. Number 3, harvest and sow in a ratio of 20-30 is not relevant, because we should be out there. We should be sowing and doing and being out there. It's not collecting. But the one thing I think that is separate, that if we didn't do it, is this aspect around clearing, cleaning, and kind of storing away. Because if we have too much stuff, it uses up vast amounts. I mean, you feng shui, you know this, it just uses up vast amounts of energy and resources. It interrupts flow, and it fundamentally leaves us as individuals, it leaves us tired. It runs down our energy. Every element energy is related to a particular emotion. Water energy is related to fear. So when we become tired and we become exhausted, then we can become fearful. And this is not the time to be fearful. Too much clutter, too much stuff, it makes us muddled, it makes us overwhelmed. That is not what we need to have. So there is something about embracing and paddling backwards and saying, I didn't clear up stuff. what's the one thing I need to do in this time in paddling backwards is to clear stuff, to create space, to create openness. That's really, really important. So I really see, if you are part of the Feng Shui Society and you're a practitioner, double down on what you're doing. This is the time to help people through that. If you're not part of a practitioner, but you recognize that this is a really important thing to do, again, double down and do it, but do it in a sustainable way. The other thing about metal is, as I said, it's always searching for what's missing or what's incomplete. And the rabbit trap around that of searching for what's missing or incomplete is it leads to perfection, a game around perfect. Oh, this isn't right. This isn't perfect. And this game we're in is not about being perfect. It's about just going out there, going forth and having fun. If you're playing the perfection game, then it's exhausting and it will create tiredness, fearfulness, muddleness, overwhelm. You just become exhausted with it. So watch out for the trap of perfection. This isn't good enough, this needs to be better, this needs to, and in terms of that kind of clearing, cleaning and storing away, it doesn't have to be perfect. Just do a bit more than you've already got and it will really have massive positive consequences. And so watch the perfection stuff, but just do something in that area, because it is a foundation thing and it allows fundamental flow to happen. And it gets us to allow us to do these sort of things within the foundation of this. And it's not about perfection and it's not about burning yourself out doing it. It's about exploring how can you have things and release things and do it fundamentally sustainably. The final kind of rabbit trap I want to kind of look at, and I think this is a really an interesting one. You know, I was saying that rabbits will suddenly change direction. So what we will see in 2023 is we will see plot twists. Going, oh my God, didn't see that coming. And what is a plot twist about? A plot twist in films and books or TV programs or anywhere, the plot twist is that it's designed to wake us up, make us go, oh, to surprise us. It's designed to thrill us, to go, oh my goodness, I didn't see that, or to make us think, or to make something happen. They're there for a reason. And we will see plot twists in the context of what's going on. 1963, right at the end of the year, there was a massive plot twist. And JFK was assassinated at the end of the water, and it was a plot twist, and that was tragic for him as an individual, for America, to his family and thing. But there was something about that, and the brilliantness of JFK, and the downside of him was that he was so good at holding the space and etc. and keep it safe, all the kind of Cuban Missile Crisis, but it was an example of an individual holding the power and the influence, whereas what we should be doing and exploring is what is our individual power and our collective power, not what is the power of someone in power. So it's not like, so one of the things that Malcolm Gladwell talked about when Barack Obama finished his presidency, he said, I realized the whole time he's been the president, I have not bothered to talk about stuff because I had relinquished responsibility to him as a leader to be holding this space, etc. And this is a time where we're not about relinquishing responsibility, it's about deciding responsibility. So there will be fundamental plot twists. We've already had a plot twist. New Zealand Prime Minister Jacinda Ardern, she resigned right at the beginning of the water rabbit year, and she said she'd reflected water over the summer break as to whether or not she had the energy to continue in her role, and concluded she didn't. She worked out, it's not sustainable what I'm doing, therefore I'm going to take action. And regardless of your politics, she was one of the politicians who many people regarded as being the voice of sanity within an unsane world, and yet there was a plot twist of she recognizing she was unsustainable. And what was that designed to do? Again, it's designed to make us say, well, actually, we perhaps all need to look at this, or relinquishing, taking personal responsibility, or collective power. Now, it's important to say that plot twists are not bad things. A plot twist could be in your work. You're doing things and you're working away or things, and you suddenly get a phone call from a newspaper or from Oprah Winfrey and says, "Hey, I've read your work, I've seen what you do. Hey, do you want to come onto a program, or do you want to do this?" So a plot twist are fantastic things. You think, "Oh my God, I never saw that coming. My goodness, that's wonderful. Oh, wow, how brilliant. All the stuff I've been working towards for years and years, all my work or my history or my experience or my talent or my relationships, all the stuff I've been doing, a consequence is that it's really in demand now." And then you could have a plot twist that you suddenly get in the front of everyone, or you get something happen. That the one thing that we do need to have with plot twists is we need to have reserves and resources already set up. So having a sudden phone call or a sudden thing when you're tired and fearful, muddled and overwhelmed is not great. So again, plot twists are in the context of what we're trying to do. And ultimately, again, as I say, this whole plot twist, they're designed to get us into our power, to be heroic, to be sustainable. Because just like in 1963, we are deciding as individuals and collectively how we want the world to be, and resolving many things, particularly this polarity that we can see. So if you have a dream, this is a year to have that dream, and this is a year to put that out into the world. And I just want to finally wrap up by just saying thank you. I want to end with a thank you for you choosing to be born into this time, because this is a very, very special time. And I hope those have given you the guidelines to manage this time and to help other people manage it, etc. And on this slide deck, I'll also do a link to a general webinar I do if you want to share that with other people. But there we are. Thank you very much. Let's have some exploration. Let's have some questions around that. And I'm just going to stop sharing. There we go.
Screen. Wonderful. Thank you. Let's just see. Brilliant. Fantastic. And it's great that you've offered everybody the chance to reflect on your presentation and download it, that link. Yeah. Maybe you can post that link again for people who missed it in the earlier part of the chat. Which
I'll do that now.
Has anybody any questions? It's interesting. I'm going to ask you.
So there are the slides. There's a link to all these slides I've got for you.
Great. So everybody's listening. We're all listening from how it affects us, and that's what I've encouraged us to do. How do we take this energy of the year and help others? I mean, one of the things you have talked about is this overarching metal energy that's present, which is the simplification, removal of extra stuff. We didn't do it in the last 2 years, do it. And it's a perennial in any consultation in somebody's home. So what might you say that they should do more of when they're looking at clients at other people's homes? And when you're looking at their home, you're seeing their whole life. They're sharing about themselves to you, and you can see their home. You can see patterns. What advice do you think we might be giving people about how they live?
Okay. I think the big one is the whole sustainability and the duality stuff of people, of really helping people to deal with whatever is going on. As practitioners or thing, we can become really enthusiastic about what we do, and we can see the answers, and you need to do this and you need to do that, and you can give them information and this and do this and I'll come back. But it's stepping back and saying, is that sustainable for them in this moment in time? Is there other things that need to be done? So it's tapping into that rabbit energy that we can all tap into, of being sensitive and being intuitive and being adaptable and changing, when at the same time we're really enthusiastic about what it is that we do. And can we make it simpler for people? Can we make it more sustainable? Can we make it more personalized for them? Can we make it, the issue is that if we really, really passionate about stuff, and I have all had to watch this all my life, you're really passionate about stuff, there is a danger that you're evangelical. And that does not allow a possibility of different things to exist. So it's an exploration of our evangelical. So to be evangelical now at the same time, relaxed and flexible and stuff. And it's also spotting the people that are with our sensitivity and our intuitiveness, to spotting the people that have been damaged by or been left with an imprint from the past few years, that perhaps you can be a guide to help them move in a direction to get that imprint resolved in some way. Yeah.
Times have been difficult for people because everything's been very home-centered, hasn't it? When we were sent home for a couple of years, and homes were changing, and the work relationship, working from home or not. And so there's been a lot of change, hasn't there? And we still build houses, same kind of boxes. Somebody is not mute here, I don't know. We're still building houses in the same way. It takes a while to change the containers, doesn't it? To create, we've got a new life, and then but the home is still the same, the structure's the same, we move the odd things around. But it's, you know, there's a lot of change happening, and yet our homes aren't changing necessarily, are they? Yeah. Which may well be good.
No. And I think what's really important within this is to remember that there was a great chunk of the population that just weren't at home. So my wife was doing 14, 15-hour shifts. So she would do a 14, 15-hour shift, come back, get something to eat, sleep for about 4 hours, 5 hours, and then just back out again.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's like month after month of that. And that wasn't being at home. That wasn't working on what it was.
Extreme pressure. Yeah.
That was extreme pressure, and a reflection on what society, how society is. So again, it's recognizing what is our individual experience that we had, not assuming that's the same as someone else, or not assuming that we will have that same reaction. And the analogy I use is it's a conversation between a silk pillow and a piece of glass. And the silk pillow says to the piece of glass, I have been left stained by this. I had a glass of red wine poured over me, and I have been left with a stain. And the piece of glass says, no, all you need to do is just release it, wash it away. It will be fine. I had red wine too, and I just washed it away. And the pillow says, okay, let me try and do that. And it feels useless because it can't just wash it away. And then or it could be a conversation between the pane of glass and the pillow. And the pane of glass says, I feel broken. I had a rock land on me and I just feel shattered. And the pillow says, no, no, no. All you need to do when rocks land on you, just absorb them and then release them out. The pane of glass tries to do that and it still feels shattered. So it's looking at our energetic individual experiences with different events and not making any judgment or any idea that we have been left with the same imprint from the same experience. And I think that is a sensitivity that we really need to be having in these big conversations and with people that you're working with. And advice cannot be universal.
You know, it's an important dialogue to find out where people are at, where experience of the moment. And it's interesting about the plot twists.
Does anyone want to talk about any questions?
Go to gallery, see if anybody wants to make a comment, put their hand up physically or with the yellow hand. What you might be taking away from this. You know, what's the most useful insight?
Oh, nice message from Connie and people like that. Fantastic, good. So any kind of thoughts, questions? And no question is too clever, no question is too stupid, no question is uninteresting.
That's good. Yeah. I mean, the sustainability and resilience is a big conversation about preparing ourselves, you know, for maybe less food and having a store of food, longer food, you know, more dry goods or whatever. And clearing space for things to happen, you know? Yeah, very much so. It's happening that you don't expect, then you've got space to handle it in your diary and in your house.
Yeah. I'm curious, who's about these heroic actions. What have people, oh, Tracy, that's a great question. Actually, I'll go straight into this question from Tracy. So how does our leading element in the vitality link to the quality of the rabbit year? That is a really, really, really good question. So each year, each energy has advantages and disadvantages, or has a certain way to play the year. So if you've got a lot of water energy, you're kind of in your natural playing ground around sustainability and balance and stuff like that. However, what every energy can do is it can make us test. We test our energy. We test to find out the answer to, am I safe? Is it sustainable? So if you've got a lot of water energy, you've got to watch that you're not testing your stamina, your ability to work out, is say, testing your reserves, testing your resources, testing. So that's a thing. Wood energy, the big thing around that is there is a propensity to have a great idea and to do it, and then have another great idea and then do it, and then have another great idea and then do it. And all of that is really quite unsustainable. So it might be a time when you really need to learn, if I start something, do I have the energy and the resources to finish it? Even though it's a great idea, do I have the energy and the resources to finish it? Fire energy, the big one I think there for fire energy is that propensity to be excited and say yes to everything. And that is unsustainable. Earth energy, I think the big exploration is this thing of, do I know the difference between giving and sacrifice? Am I looking after the community so well it's exhausting for me? And metal energy, I think it is this perfection, black and whiteness. It needs to be perfect. No, it doesn't. It just needs to be out there. We just need it out there in the world. That's what we need. It doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to be out there. And that's good. Sapudra said, what if you're kind of equal in all 5 energies? Well, fantastic. That's brilliant. You can have an exploration in every single one of those areas. And you can help. Often what happens is, if you're very equal in the energies, you have an ability to see everyone's situation, everyone's point of view. So it creates a real sensitivity to everyone. The challenge for the person that has all that balance of the energies, they say, yeah, but who am I? What's my skill? What's my talent? Where am I really shining? And you're really shining in your ability to see everyone's point of view. But yes, but who am I? So there's an interesting dynamic there. But all of them are just really just getting us to explore stuff. And the stuff that we'll be exploring is probably what you've been exploring for years and years and years. So if you've been exploring taking on too much, saying yes to things and burning out, then you'll be exploring that again. You'll just be given a chance to do it. A chance to step into something really meaningful and saying no to other things. And if you've had issues around all these great ideas that you never quite gets finished, then you'll have more of that. So you need to deal with it. So it's just stuff that we've been doing all the time. It's just more now, and it matters now. It really, really matters for us to get this right, because we're deciding how the world will be. We're being examples to people. So
that's a great power grab, isn't it? Decide how we want the world.
Yeah.
And we take responsibility for that and step forward and use and take our power, as opposed to waiting, like you mentioned about Gladwell. You know, we've got this great president and let him fix all the problems. It doesn't matter who's in leadership. You can take leadership in something. You can step forward and you decide to do something.
And we were given in many parts of the world, we were given an example at the beginning of 2020 of the power of communities to make a difference. So before governments could get their shit together or deal with anything or do their stupid stuff, lots of stupid stuff that they did, communities started forming WhatsApp groups to check that people had got food, that they were okay, that they had medication. We have a community interest company up in Lancashire, and we were, Janet, who was running it, they were dropping off food for people, they were picking up prescriptions, they were doing everything before the local council had even got out of bed. So we saw an example in 2020 of the power of communities, kindness, and the ability to pull together. We then went a bit divided because we got all that metal energy, but to begin with, it was, this is how the world could work with in it together. And the governments were actually irrelevant at that stage.
Yeah.
They did nothing.
And it's interesting, I don't know if anybody's seen, there's a movie called The Bank of Dave. It's on Netflix. It's down the road from me in Burnley. I highly recommend it because it's the Bank of Dave. You know, nobody started a bank for 150 years except for Dave. It's the story of him lending money to his community and the community pulling together, and the impact people felt of looking after each other. It's just wonderful, and it's a real story. And at the end, you see Dave. I really highly recommend it as a movie. It's very good. Bank of Dave on Netflix. All the time you keep talking about the power of community and coming together and supporting each other with kindness. Well, we don't have any other questions, so I'm going to come to a close and thank you. I'm going to just prime Victoria to see if she can tell us when we have our next webinar. But Nick, thank you. It's been great. I think there's a lot for people to digest, take on board and use for the next year. We have recorded this, so be able to watch the recording and go back over it. I would recommend watching it before the end of the year to remind yourself of some of the things, because it's easy to forget, you know, the patterns that are happening, and forewarned is always forearmed. So having this, all these insights for the year of the water rabbit is great. Nick, thank you so much. We'll give you this loud applause with our hands. That's beautiful. Thank you. And I'm not sure you put the vitality test link, so that's free. It's very useful for people. If you pop that link in, it's got your website, the detail for people to go and have that free test.
We've got the vitality test. I've got all our different conversations.
You mentioned a few events, and you got the events link on there as well.
Yeah, I got some things there.
If you want to follow up with that, that's great. Thank you so much. And is Victoria here? Did you?
Yes, I am. I am here. I was going to say, Jackie, can you hear me now? Jackie Tiro's got her space clearing for 2023 out. I think it's the 12th of February. Just to confirm. So if Jackie's online, I don't know if she's here, but okay, so she's going to be doing the space clearing and getting your houses ready for 2023, basically.
That's great. And I think if you're all, thank you, Victoria, and I think if you're all on our mailing list, which I think you are if you've found your way here, we'll have more events coming up. We love having guest speakers like Nick come and join us and speak to us. So we've got a schedule of those and we'll inform you of that. But for the moment, Happy New Year, Chinese water rabbit, everybody. And Happy New Feng Shui New Year this Saturday, 4th. It's wonderful feeling the energy shifts, you know, the idea that the year starts on 1st of January is, you know, it's a no-no. Here we go. We feel the new energies coming in for the year. You know, the old's finishing, and then I think, you know, people are nodding. We feel those new energies coming in, so it's really exciting.
Yeah.
Thank you. I'm going to hit the stop recording.